It was supposed to be a standard, passing observation from a respected hip-hop veteran. But within hours, a single cryptic comment about age, generations, and relatability detonated across social media, instantly dragging the world's most dominant female boxer into the crosshairs of a fiercely protective hip-hop family. According to public discussion, Papoose never explicitly named the target. Yet, the internet's reaction was terrifyingly synchronized. Industry observers noticed that within minutes, thousands of users connected his exact phrasing directly to Claressa Shields. But why her? What hidden context was buried in his choice of words that made the public's mind jump straight to a champion fighter whose world appears entirely disconnected from his? Critics argue this was a calculated subliminal shot, carefully constructed to spark outrage without leaving fingerprints. Supporters believe it was a massive misunderstanding, rapidly weaponized by an algorithm desperate for controversy. But behind the scenes, this digital wildfire triggered a much darker conversation. As we peel back the layers of this heated debate, you will discover that the core of this controversy isn't just about a podcast clip. It's about a deeply unsettling societal obsession with age, maturity, and relationship dynamics. Allegedly, this single incident has threatened to derail a champion at the absolute peak of her career, while placing a heavily guarded hip-hop marriage under a blinding, unforgiving microscope. But the words spoken on that stream were only half the story. Because the real mystery isn't just why the internet connected those dots so quickly. It's the chilling detail buried in their past digital footprint that proves this collision was completely unavoidable. The moment the internet connected Papoose's vague words to Claressa Shields, the conversation instantly mutated. It stopped being a fleeting piece of celebrity gossip and transformed into a brutal, highly polarized debate about the mathematics of human relationships. The raw numbers became the battleground. On one side, you have a seasoned veteran of the music industry, operating in a phase of life defined by legacy, marriage, and established family dynamics. On the other, a relentless athlete in her 20s, whose entire existence demands aggression, singular focus, and a completely different set of life priorities. Critics immediately seized on this stark contrast. According to public discussion, the controversy wasn't just about the years separating them. It was about the vast canyon between their respective worlds. Social media timelines fractured into warring camps, analyzing what maturity actually means when dealing with highly successful individuals from entirely different generations. Observers pointed out that an older veteran speaking on relatability often carries an implicit judgment about the younger generation's life choices, sparking immediate defensiveness from fans. This is where the industry context heavily skewed the public reaction. Historically, the hip-hop community has often turned a blind eye to significant age gaps, occasionally even romanticizing them as a sign of elevated status or mentorship. But the sports world operates under a glaring, unforgiving microscope. Boxing fans are fiercely protective of their champions. They viewed the very suggestion of this dynamic not as a casual observation, but as a direct threat to Claressa's focus. To them, dragging her into a conversation about relationship maturity was a calculated distraction aimed at a woman at the absolute peak of her physical and mental prime. The debate rapidly evolved into a fierce questioning of power dynamics. Supporters of the boxing star argued that any older figure attempting to critique or engage with younger, wealthy female athlete operates from a position of unchecked privilege. Conversely, defenders of the hip-hop veteran insisted that pointing out a lack of life experience isn't a crime. It is simply a reality of navigating different stages of adulthood. The tension escalated rapidly because neither side could agree on the basic facts of who was actually in the wrong, or if there was even a genuine relationship dynamic to analyze in the first place. As the argument reached a boiling point, the narrative began to drift dangerously close to affecting their actual careers. Brands and sponsors notoriously hate unpredictable controversies that touch on ethics and age dynamics. The longer the debate raged on platforms like X and TikTok, the higher the stakes became for everyone involved. It wasn't just about saving face anymore. It was about protecting multi-million-dollar empires from a volatile court of public opinion. Just as the internet thought they had the entire power dynamic figured out, a massive blind spot was exposed. Armchair detectives digging through the archives realized they were looking at the wrong timeline entirely. A subtle detail about their past online footprint abruptly surfaced, throwing a wrench into everything the public claimed to know. This wasn't sudden, out-of-the-blue collision triggered by a single podcast comment. The digital breadcrumbs revealed a quiet, almost invisible pattern of overlapping circles that predated the current outrage. And this new revelation forced everyone to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. Were we just witnessing a random internet misunderstanding, or the boiling over a quiet tension that had been brewing in plain sight for years? The revelation of a deeper digital footprint immediately pulled the controversy out of the comment section and dropped it squarely into the real world. This was no longer just a viral weekend topic. It was a live grenade thrown into two meticulously protected empires. For Claressa's shields, the timing could not have been more hazardous. In the unforgiving business of elite professional boxing, an undefeated legacy is a fragile ecosystem. Maintaining absolute dominance across multiple weight classes requires a severe, almost monk-like isolation from outside noise. Training camps are designed to break the body and sharpen the mind, filtering out anything that doesn't contribute to the next knockout. But the internet does not respect training camps. As the debate over age gaps and relatability dominated the trending tabs, sports fans began to panic. Combat sports history is littered with cautionary tales of invincible champions who lost their edge the moment they let celebrity drama pierce their bubble. Boxing purists couldn't care less about hip-hop podcast quotes or generational discourse. They saw once-in-a-generation talent being dragged into a messy narrative that had nothing to do with her athletic prowess. The frustration among her core audience reached a fever pitch. They demanded to know if this digital circus was actively draining her focus behind closed doors, viewing the entire situation as a targeted psychological attack. Across the aisle, the stakes for Papoose were entirely different, but equally dangerous. In the hip-hop ecosystem, drama is a highly profitable currency, but Papoose and Remy Ma spent decades carefully constructing a very specific public image. They are widely regarded as hip-hop royalty, a rare symbol of unwavering loyalty, maturity, and stability in an industry known for fractured relationships and messy public breakups. Their brand is heavily anchored in the concept of unified family dynamics, being thrust into a heated, polarizing debate about power imbalances, and a young female athlete directly jeopardized the core foundation of that hard-earned reputation. The clash between these two media ecosystems was violent. Hip-hop bloggers, perpetually hungry for the next massive scandal, began aggressively dissecting every past lyric, every old interview, and every fleeting social media interaction between the two spheres. They wanted to uncover a secret narrative, pushing the boundary of speculation to its absolute limit to find a hidden relationship. Sports media, conversely, attempted to maintain a different type of scrutiny, carefully questioning how this viral distraction might impact betting odds, promotional schedules, and Claressa's mental conditioning. Two massive, radically different audiences were suddenly forced into the same arena, battling over the same incomplete set of facts. As the social media trend hit its absolute peak, dominating algorithms and forcing itself onto feeds of millions who had never watched a boxing match or listened to a mixtape, the crisis management strategy from both camps became glaringly obvious. Strategic, suffocating silence. There were no official press releases, no immediate live streams to clear the air, no swift, absolute debunking of the rumors. This calculated quiet is a classic public relations tactic, designed to starve the digital fire of oxygen. In the modern digital age, however, silence is rarely interpreted as innocence. It is almost always perceived as complicity. The absence of a hard denial allowed the conspiracy theorists to take full control of the narrative. Fans started reading into the silence, decoding the lack of action as definitive proof that something darker was being hidden. The algorithm fed directly on this uncertainty, rewarding videos and threads that pushed the most extreme theories about why neither side was willing to permanently shut the story down. Then came the cryptic posts. While the main players remained entirely mute, peripheral figures, trainers, producers, distant associates began dropping vague, indirect messages on their Instagram stories. A cryptic quote about loyalty here. A meme about minding your own business there. Each digital breadcrumb was instantly screenshotted, endlessly analyzed, and injected straight into the controversy. It created a localized paranoia where every single action was viewed exclusively through the lens of the age gap debate. The crossover effect was fully realized. The sports scandal and the music industry drama had permanently merged into one uncontrollable beast. The tension was absolutely suffocating. The internet had built a massive, towering narrative entirely out of shadows and assumptions, waiting for just one person to crack under the immense pressure and speak out of turn. While millions of eyes were locked on Claressa's isolated training camp and Papoose's public legacy, almost everyone completely ignored the third angle of the situation. Because while the internet was screaming, the silence from a key figure closely tied to the center of the storm was deafening, and it spoke volumes. Just when everyone thought they had the entire board mapped out, a leaked detail surrounding Remy Ma surfaced, changing the entire narrative and proving that the real fallout hadn't even begun yet. The psychological warfare had officially begun. The internet didn't just want a scandal. They aggressively demanded one. But here is the most glaring, confirmed fact of this entire saga. There was absolutely zero concrete proof tying Papoose's initial relatability comment directly to Claressa Shields. Zero. Yet, the lack of evidence didn't kill the rumor. It supercharged it. How do you kill a controversy that the internet desperately wants to be true? You can't. The narrative mutated from a fleeting piece of celebrity gossip into a full-blown cultural reckoning. Within 48 hours of the original post, the timeline shifted dramatically. The quick-hit tweets vanished, completely replaced by 2-hour video essays and deep-dive podcasting pieces. Analysts weren't just gossiping anymore. They were dissecting the fundamental ethics of power dynamics between older industry veterans and highly successful, younger women. This specific framing exposed a deeply uncomfortable industry reality. The modern media machine possesses a relentless, documented obsession with breaking down fiercely independent female athletes by chaining their names to unverified relationship drama. Instead of discussing Claressa's historic, unmatched dominance in the ring, mainstream platforms force her legacy to share the spotlight with a hip-hop family's domestic ecosystem. Both Papoose and Claressa have vicious, highly effective histories of handling online trolls. But this wasn't a coordinated troll farm. This was a massive societal projection. The public was actively using their faces to debate their own insecurities about age and maturity. The human collateral was just the price of admission. But just as the philosophical debates reached their absolute peak, the timeline fractured again. Online sleuths, entirely dissatisfied with the lack of a real villain, dug deeper into the digital vault. Before the dust could even begin to settle, an old interview clip started making the rounds again. And suddenly, the entire context of Papoose's initial comment took on a completely different, much darker meaning. The trending hashtags are finally beginning to fade, but the invisible damage is already permanently locked into the algorithm. When the internet rushes to judgment, it creates a relentless digital footprint that these individuals are forced to carry. The next time Claressa Shields steps into the ring to defend her legacy, or Papoose sits down to speak on hip-hop history, this unproven narrative will be lingering right beneath the surface, waiting for a single spark to reignite the timeline. The biggest mystery of this entire saga remains locked in the vault. Was Papoose's original comment a highly calculated, subliminal shot aimed directly at a specific target? Or was this a terrifying, accidental misunderstanding completely weaponized by social media algorithms desperate for a villain? Which brings us to the ultimate question. Does a significant age gap automatically create a toxic power imbalance? Or is the internet simply projecting its own deep-rooted insecurities onto highly successful public figures? Drop your unfiltered thoughts in the comments down below. I want to see exactly where you stand on this. This specific debate might be cooling down, but the vault of secrets in this industry never really closes. Because the final piece of evidence suggests that this entire collision wasn't an isolated incident. It was a warning shot.